Hello, everybody. Welcome to Diva like Edwina. This is the Inner Diva segment, part two of my overview of bipolar disease, or what is commonly known as bipolar disorder. As I brought out in part one of this video, bipolar disorder uh, is a disorder where an individual experiences extreme lows and extreme highs with their mental state. The lows are depressive episodes, and it can get to the point where it's debilitating. You can't get out of bed. You can't function as an individual. You basically want to die because you're just so sad. You're so out of it. You're so depressed to where you just simply don't want to go on, and it then turns into mania or becoming manic, where you have all of this energy, you're talking really fast, engaging in risky behaviors that you wouldn't normally participate in. Drug use, alcohol use is often associated with individuals that have bipolar disorder. As I brought out in part one of the video, have been diagnosed very recently as having bipolar 1 disorder. And and I also have ADHD, which I will talk about in a future video. Okay, so we're going to focus on bipolar right now. I personally have suffered with this disorder since childhood. And again, as I brought out in part one, I will be 47 next month, and I am just getting a correct diagnosis. And bipolar is very hard to diagnose. It's also a very misunderstood disorder. I had no idea that I was living bipolar. I thought I knew what bipolar was. And when I got my diagnosis, boy, was I surprised. So, so I wanted to put together this video to talk about it and to talk a little bit about my experience with this disease as well. And yes, I do call bipolar, depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, and any other mental disorder I call a disease, because as I have learned through living this, there are a lot of physical symptoms that go along with bipolar disorder. Okay, so again, I brought out that there was a book that was written back in what was that, 1650, talking basically about depression, and that was the first known book that was put out regarding depression. And then later on, as more understanding came about, the books pertaining to bipolar disorder came out. There are two known types of bipolar 1, which is what I have, and according to books and other resources that I have looked at, is considered the most serious of bipolar disorders or diseases. And then bipolar 2. And I have to say, with all honesty, I don't think bipolar 2 is less serious. I think it's more insidious because it's even harder to diagnose than bipolar 1, because the highs aren't as high and the lows aren't as low. So it's very difficult to get a correct diagnosis. So either one of them is bad. Okay, I'm just saying it like it is. I would not wish this on anybody. I really wouldn't. Even people that I dislike, I would not wish this upon. This is like some of the worst stuff ever. Um, some of the things that a bipolar person faces in dealing with their disorder, again, are the highs and the lows. And having to deal with the highs and the lows, and having to go to school, and having to go to work, having families, can at times be overwhelming. I have to say for myself personally, I had a very difficult time growing up with this disorder. I did not always have the energy that the other kids had. I always felt like I was standing in place and everybody was just kind of running all around me. And then there were times where my energy level was better. Uh, but I have to say, in all honesty, when I was manic, it was mostly the energy was in here. You didn't actually see the energy expended, like talking rapidly or that kind of stuff. I did other things. I had problems with always seeming to trip myself up, sabotaging myself, creating situations where there was drama, always stress. Um, that was the kind of stuff that I did. And I did have situations, and this is before I became a Jehovah's Witness, where I did get into some situations in an intimate way, a sexual way, that I really shouldn't have had myself in. So that was part of it. And then for me also, not just the struggle to work, but also managing a household, managing finances, have always been an issue for me. And people with bipolar disorder tend to have a lot of issues with keeping up their homes and keeping up with their finances, and being responsible. So that's another thing you'll see with an individual that has bipolar disorder. Now, that being said, there's a lot of information out here now that talks about the physiology of bipolar disorder, uh, inherited, how genetics, excuse me, and all of that. And I won't be going into that for this particular segment here. Perhaps in the future we can talk about some, the deeper, more scientific things. But I just basically wanted to give an overview. And for most people with bipolar, and this is my personal thing here, that I would say about 97 to 99% of bipolar individuals have to have medication. I personally chose to handle this situation, this disease, through medication, also through nutrition, and also through nutritional supplements. And once I can clear some time from my schedule, I'll be exercising more also. I get plenty at work doing the kind of work that I do, but I need to do some more. Um, that's how I chose to deal with my bipolar, and I will get into more detail in the future also about the nutrition, about supplements, because there are supplements out there that a bipolar person can take that will help to not only eliminate symptoms, but to help your brain to rebuild itself. So there are things out there that are available, but I will have to say that the lion's share of us bipolars out there do and should be taking some medication. Okay, you need to have it. Okay, all right. So I just want to say also, I'm checking my time here, that in the United States, and I'm basing this information off of this book, the Everything Guide, Health Guide to Bipolar Disorder by John P. Block or Bloke. I'm not quite sure how that's pronounced. But I just want to say that the rates for bipolar disorder based on this book are higher than in many other countries. For example, the bipolar rates are in the U.S. are 33% higher than Canada and close to 50% higher than Germany. And it says it is interesting to speculate as to why this is. Could our high pressure way of life be a factor? Do we test people more often for bipolar, or do we use different testing criteria altogether? And I do have my own personal theory about why we have more in this country than in other countries, and it has to do with the water. Believe it or not, that's my personal thing, and I will discuss that too more in detail on a future show, this future Diva show talking about bipolar disorder. But I just want to go over some of the symptoms, some of that most of us have, and it's sudden changes in behavior, and these can include changes in eating and sleeping patterns, as well as energy level, confidence in personal or professional activities, poor concentration skills. The person either never finishes anything or overdoes it. Also, an individual might stay up all night working on something only to destroy it come morning, as if to create and destroy were one and the same process. Extreme arrogance. The individual might talk about nothing but his or herself, and always in the most superlative of terms. Praise is always expected, even for feats of questionable value. There might be fabrications about past achievements, family history, or even spiritual matters. Inappropriate anger. If nothing in a situation seems to warrant anger, and the anger turns to an extreme expression of rage, there is cause for concern. This is especially true if property gets destroyed. Excessive meddling. Someone who is extremely intent on telling other people what to do cannot stop thinking about what other people should do, and spends an inordinate amount of time talking about other people behind their backs might be bipolar. Sexual compulsion. A bipolar person often makes inappropriate sexual advances towards others or takes dangerous risks, destroys personal relations, moves in with strangers, or destroys finances in order to have sex. Imaginary aches and pains. If someone experiences bouts of body aches and complains that more than one doctor cannot find any cause for, it is wise to dwell further into the person's thought and behavioral patterns. Inappropriate risk taking. Some bipolar people engage in dangerous relationships, financial ventures, dishonesty, law breaking, or physical activities to fulfill a self destructive desire for excitement. All right, so that is sort of like an overview of warning signs that someone may be bipolar. I have 10 seconds, so I need to wrap this up right now. So I am going to go to, we're going to do a part 3, it looks like. I will be right back.